Hello, my lovely friend. I am coming to you from the warmth and comfort of my living room, sitting on the floor in front of my bed, and it's pouring down rain outside, and I have been sick for days. And the idea of putting on real clothes and going into my office to write an email made me not happy. So here I am with a video instead, and I hope that you will forgive me and love me and all of my transparency and vulnerability here. And I wanted to say that it's a really intense time right now. The energy is really intense. We're in between two eclipses, and the next one is coming up on Tuesday. Okay, we got another eclipse on the 8th. So it's big time. It's a full moon, closures, wrapping things up. Realizing that we don't want to continue on certain paths and routes that we have gone down. Mars just went retrograde on Sunday, this last Sunday before Halloween, and will be retrograde for 2.5 months. So a retrograde, if you don't know, is when a planet appears from our vantage point on Earth to be moving backward through the heavens. Of course, that's physically impossible. It's just the way the Earth orbits. So Mars continues to move steadily, but from our perspective, with our feet planted firmly on planet Earth, it looks like he's moving backward in the sky. So whenever a planet is retrograde, and they all go retrograde at some point, the archetypes, the symbolism of that planet seems to not operate in the same way. Mars is the planet of our vital life force energy. So it is quite literally the energy that helps you get up in the morning and the energy to initiate projects and execute on the things that need to be done. So when Mars goes retrograde, it's also our sex drive too, by the way. It's like desire and passion and all of these things generally. So when Mars goes retrograde, we can feel really lethargic and just like, I don't want to do the things. Like this girl right here at home, sitting on the floor, doing a video message to you instead of an email. And what I think is most powerful about retrogrades is that it really is a time to integrate previous periods of energy. So when Mars goes retrograde once every 2.5 years. So we are being called to slow down, like quite literally go into turtle mode. You know, it is like maybe you've been going. You're going to crash and burn right now, probably. Or you're just going to be like, oh, the car's out of gas. Maybe it's not like a crash and burn into a building that starts on fire. That can't happen with Mars. Mars likes to burn the house down, let me tell you. But it can also be just like the slow trickling end of energy where it's like the car running out of gas and you're like, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, I better pull over. Up, and we're done. Honor that. It's really important to honor the cycles of energy, to tune into them, to tap into them, and to, as I like to say, get down with the cosmos, you know? It's like, if the planet of our vital life force energy is saying to slow down, who are we to argue with that? I'm not going to argue with that. So, and if you do argue with it, then what's going to happen is what just happened to me, which is I got sick because I was doing too much and I knew I was doing too much, but I wasn't in a position to wind it down. And then I got sick and life grounded me, like literally, you know. My friend Richard jokes and says, isn't it lovely how life has this way of just like dictating when you're going to rest, right? So Mars is kind of dictating right now that we all take a pause. So this doesn't mean that like projects that were important that you were working really hard on need to stop. No, it just means that maybe you're expending less energy on them, or it's a time for reevaluation. Could even be it's a time to like revisit other projects that you were working on, or generally just like taking rest, taking like a short sabbatical, an energy vacation, essentially. Yeah, so rest and chill. Okay, so I want to move on and say that the next thing that's coming up is, and that Mars retrograde, by the way, is in effect through up until early January, I believe, 2.5 months, but I'll put the specific dates in the email. So the other thing that's occurring is that we are in between two eclipses, and My experience is that it's the in between, that 2 weeks between eclipses, when the energy can be most intense, because we had this new moon eclipse, which is, the new moon is more about like new beginnings, starting new things, initiation. But then we had the Mars retrograde. So it's like, okay, so the new moon wants us to start things and to do something. And then the Mars retrograde is like, no, just kidding. Haha, you can do that at the new year. Okay. And then now we have this full moon coming up that's like, it's going to put the kibosh on anything that's not working, because full moons have a lot to do with completion. So it doesn't mean that it can be endings and terminations and separations and things like this, especially in the sign of Scorpio, but it can also just be that you realize like, that thing isn't working. I don't want to do it anymore. Like for me, that's social media. I don't like social media. It turns me into, and I'm not exaggerating, a monster. When I start doing the social media thing, I like turn into a demon. I hate it. I hate social media. So one of the things that I've had to realize recently is like, no more social. And I have all these like fears and doubts and concerns about this and how it's going to affect my business. And it's like, but life is showing me over and over again that not only is it not really assisting me in any beneficial way, but it makes me it turns me into like the worst version of myself, which should have been enough for me to know to conclude, right? So one of the big conclusions, so to speak, of my life right now is social media, which I know sounds ridiculous, but as a business owner, that's actually quite a big deal. So in some way, with this eclipse, with the Mars retrograde, both the previous eclipse and the eclipse this Tuesday, what is that, the 8th? Full moon in Taurus, okay? So what these two eclipses are really showing us, because they're straddling the Scorpio-Taurus axis, the polarity points, is that we are being asked to reassess and realign with our values. Our values are super important right now. It's like, what's up? What do you want? What do you need? Are you in alignment with what you want and what you need? And if you're not, why not? And how can you come into alignment with them? Scorpio is about death and regeneration and transformation and self-empowerment. So it's important to remember that if you're struggling in some way with something that you don't like, that it has a kernel of treasure, right? The heart of that struggle is treasure for you to mine. It is where you can find your greatest sense of empowerment, and also where you can assist others if you so choose. Most of my clients, most of you reading this, have told me specifically that you want to help the people around you, that you want to be your best self so that you can assist other people in being their best selves, and also so that you can just be a better person in the world for those that you love. So part of doing that, becoming that person, becoming your best self, is being empowered, and you can use the scorpionic energy to identify what it is that's not working in your life, to really self-reflect. These are Scorpio keywords: self-reflect, inner limitations, self-empowerment, to be like, hey, I have this compulsion, or hey, I have this pattern. Oh, hey, yeah, I do this thing that's self-sabotaging, to like identify what it is that doesn't work, that prevents you from having what you want or being the person that you would like to be. And then steadily working to refine yourself so that you can be your best self, right? It's like polishing the gemstone that is your heart. Okay, this is almost 10 minutes, so I'm going to conclude. If you have any questions about this stuff, please write me back and let me know, because a lot of the motivation or impetus of my emails comes from what people are asking me and what I'm hearing from my friends and loved ones and clients about what they're experiencing in their life. So I love you so much. Thank you for being avid readers of my email. It inspires me tremendously, and I love what I do, and I love interacting with you every week. So thank you. A big hug. Bisous. Ciao, ciao.